Welcome back. Again, my name is Brian Mooney. I'm an Irish Times education columnist and career guidance expert. And for this session, we're going to be looking at careers in nursing. To discuss their experience and share some advice, I'm delighted to welcome Registered General and Psychiatric Nurse Catherine Cockyman, Sarah Tyrrell, a nurse in Children's Health at Crumlin Hospital, Intellectual Disability Nurse, Brona McGahan, and finally Emma Hellerbert, a midwife from the University Hospital Galway. So thank you all for joining me here today. Nursing, what is it that attracted and drew each of you to nursing? Maybe you could give us, each of you in sequence, maybe starting with yourself, Catherine. What drew you into nursing?
I was very fortunate. I'm from a family of nurses, so my mum is a nurse. I have cousins and aunts nurses as well. And when I was in fifth year in school, I worked in a nursing home. So that kind of gave me a taste for it. And I suppose I was fascinated by people's experiences and stories. And I enjoyed the kind of interaction with the older people, the fun, the satisfaction going home every day. So I suppose that's what drew me into nursing.
Sarah? Sarah, what drew you into nursing?
I suppose when I was in fifth year, I got to volunteer and go to Lourdes as like an assistant, like helping kind of the elderly around. And I just loved like the whole interaction with everybody. And I always knew I wanted to work with people and not in like a job where I was just like going to be sitting at a desk. I wanted like interaction with people throughout the day. And I'm like loved chatting with everybody. And then I also loved kids. So that's why I went for the combined course, because it gave me the opportunity to study both. And then I had the flexibility then when I qualified to either work with general or with kids. And you're qualified in both, so you can choose then throughout your career. If you wanted to change it up a bit, you could go back to like general or swap over to kids. So I suppose that's what made me want to do it, is the interaction with people. And I kind of loved helping people. I always loved like when I was younger, I had like my teddies all set up, like little playing with them in hospitals and stuff like that. So I kind of always wanted to do something medical with people. So that's why I did it.
So you knew that was for you from an early stage. And Brona?
Yeah, I suppose a bit like Sarah, I loved interacting with people and getting to know them. And I suppose I finished my Leaving Cert and kind of didn't know what I wanted to do. So I'm very much still in college at the moment. I'm a mature student, and I suppose life experiences brought me to it. I've learned over the years that I just wanted to be in a kind, caring profession, and I seen there were so many opportunities and abilities, and whether it was entry or Leaving Cert or like a backdoor system through a PLC course, I just always knew that I wanted to be that kind, caring profession, and the abilities in nursing is fantastic. So yeah.
And finally, Emma, your route into nursing.
Yeah, so I'm currently a midwife, so I did direct entry midwifery. So I suppose I'm a bit opposite to Catherine. There was nobody medical in my family at all, no nurse, doctors, nothing, no healthcare systems even. So I suppose for me it was a little bit different, probably took a bit of a plunge into the deep end, to make sure that I like it or not. But I suppose I always envisioned myself working in a hospital. I loved babies. I always, like the girls, wanted to help people and wanted to look after people. I did nursing, work in a nursing home for 4 years while I was training. So I suppose I got that side of it, working with the elderly. I loved it. But I did think midwifery was my calling. And I'm so delighted that I went into it and love every minute of this day.
Okay. So all four of you have had a sense growing up and in final years in school that nursing was for you. What decided ultimately, in terms of the nursing course you did, maybe for our audience of students who are still in school looking at this today, how did each of you maybe, and you can take it in whatever order you want to respond to this, what determined whether you went into general psychiatric, midwifery, etc., and how was that experience for each of you?
Well, I suppose I can go first as a midwife point of view. I did get the hands-on experience in a nursing home. So I suppose that's a piece of advice I would give to people in school at your age. Like, 16, 17, 18, I was just saying to the girls off screen, it's a very, very hard career to know whether you're going to like it or not, when it's very, very different to what you do on a daily basis. Maybe you all have jobs in restaurants as waitresses or waiters or whatever you're doing, but I suppose in nursing, midwifery, or even medicine, it's very, very hard to get the hands-on experience. So I would say take the plunge into doing something like volunteering as a healthcare assistant for, the summer, or even just going into your local nursing home or community home, or, even your health centre, just to see, do you like that? Can you get the hands-on experience? So that was for me, when I went into the nursing home, yes, I loved it, but I couldn't see myself working in the care of the elderly for the rest of my life. So that made me go to midwifery. And that made my mind up very easy. And I was so glad that I did that 4 years in the nursing home. I would never take it back. I kept my training there. While I was working as midwife and training as midwife, I kept up my work in the nursing home as my part-time job. So, that's the only way that I can say is I got the hands-on experience, knew that I loved it, but it wasn't for me, and I went into midwifery that way.
Okay. The rest of you?
Yeah, I have to agree with Emma on the whole kind of putting yourself out there and getting as much work experience as you can as possible. Now, I kind of maybe took a different entry to the other girls, and I did like kind of like a PLC sort of part-time, which was through Cavan Monaghan ETB. And, I worked in nursing homes and hospital settings and so on. And then when I decided that I wanted to be an intellectual disability nurse, I knew that I loved the person-centred approach. It was very much one-on-one, that you looked at each resident and each individual as, a person-centred holistic approach. And I loved the kind of one-on-one aspect of it. So, ID nursing, yes, it is a little bit different to the others, but it's very much, you're looking at the person as a whole, you're involved in their medical side of things. I understand that's, you're supporting their health and so on, but you're very mindful of mental health awareness and also like your social care aspects. So you're involved in, it is very much, different elements to it. So there's different aspects to it as well. So that's why I chose intellectual disability nursing, because you see people who you look after thrive on a daily basis, and it's so rewarding.
Fantastic. Okay. And the other two?
Sorry.
Go on.
I suppose why I chose. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, sorry. I suppose why I chose the combined course, children's and general nursing, is that I love both. I knew from doing my volunteering in Lourdes, and then from like my little cousins and everything, that I knew I would love to work with either adults or children. So it gave me a really broad opportunity to kind of basically educate myself further and see which one I prefer to do in the future. So I'm currently working with peds, but like there's no reason why in the future I can't go back and do adults. So I think that's why I also worked in pharmacy throughout college and in secondary school as well. So I always had that medical kind of, I was learning the medicines, and I was kind of trying to, when people could come in and cut their fingers and they'd be asking for help and everything, that you'd be helping them that way too. So like that, like what Emma had said about like putting yourself out there and volunteering and doing part-time jobs in like a field similar to what you think you might want to do, is a way of really kind of like educating yourself and kind of informing yourself of what what potential jobs are out there and what direction you kind of would like to go.
Thanks, Sarah. And finally?
Yeah, Michael, I suppose I was drawn first of all to general nursing, and I trained in James's Hospital, and it was just fascinating, the conditions, the different things you see, how you can help people going through such, I suppose, illness and time of ill health. But I suppose what I found was I like to sit and talk to the person and, listen to them and, maybe reassure them, offer them some hope. So I suppose that's how I came to maybe think about psychiatric nursing. And now after I've a good number of years in mental health nursing, now 10 years, and like it's so diverse. There's so many options. Like we have to remember there's different roles for nurses out there. We now have mental health nurses in the maternity services. We now have them at primary care and meeting suicidal people out in the community. I worked in the emergency department for 2 years there, looking after people who come in with suicidal ideation and self-harm. And, it's just, it's a privilege to be part of something, reassuring people, giving them hope, and giving them something to help to cope for the future. So I suppose that's how I came to the psychiatric nursing. area, and I can see like there's opportunities out there for young people to come to it. We get a lot of mature students probably because of their life histories and experiences, but there's lots of opportunities for younger people to come in. There's so many options now in my field of nursing, and it's satisfying and enjoyable every day.
Thanks a million. The issue about the PLC came up there. Now, obviously, from a mature applicant's point of view, when you're over 23, and if you show that you have the ability and the aptitude, etc. But obviously, under 23, we're back to the dreaded points system, and we know that, when nursing became a fully degree level 8 qualification, we shortly afterwards had the economic crash. We lost 360 places, I think, at the time in 2012 to nursing because the HSE cut those places out because effectively they were saving some money at that stage on the placement of student nurses in hospitals. A lot of those places have come back, but mainly from the mental health side. So we do have an acute shortage of places and have had. So the points for nursing for leaving certs are quite high. And the PLC route is obviously there for students, although there are very few places available in the colleges for students coming from the PLC route. Do any of you have experience of people trying to come in other than through, getting the points in the Leaving Cert, which obviously I think you all have other than possibly the mature route?
I do actually, Michael, I suppose. I work as an assistant director of nursing, so I'm a manager, and I know I work in the health service, and there is a sponsorship scheme for people that work in certain areas of the health service that they can be sponsored to go and do nursing as well. But other than that, I think the only other two routes I'm aware of is the two you've mentioned. Okay. But we get a lot of people through mature students, so I'm guessing they go through the PLC route.
Yeah, that's kind of the route that I took, Catherine. I had, I was probably in my 30s before I started in college, but the PLC route is definitely something to express and say that it's fantastic. To say that it builds your foundation of knowledge and awareness of what's expected of you, as you might do the pre-nursing course or you might do the healthcare assistance, and the importance of that, identifying that you have the importance of infection prevention and control, your care skills, your activities of daily living, how it is that you develop the knowledge to then go on and do nursing. So I have to say, for me, I have to really complement the PLC courses or part-time through, I did mine through Cavan Monaghan ETB, which was an adult service, and I could still work part-time, but I have to say the PLC course is definitely a good foundation to build your skills and your knowledge, and you use them throughout your 4 years.
Okay. Does anyone else want to come back in on that before I respond to that? I was just saying the PLC route is fantastic, and Minister Harris was here earlier, and he made the point quite clearly that although the PLC route is absolutely wonderful, we do have a shortage of places from PLC into the undergraduate degrees, particularly for the under 23s. And it's something he's going to work on. And I'd say to students who are looking at this, obviously, there are efforts being made to ensure that if you don't get the points for direct entry, that you can possibly use the PLC route and that there will be places. Obviously, in the past, and this is really addressing those people who are looking at this presentation. In the past, lots of Irish students would have gone to the UK, but a number of years ago, George Osborne, in his last budget, cut the NHS funding for students going to the UK, and therefore that meant that students going to the UK, I think, are now paying €9,250 per year in terms of student fees, and they're obviously also paying accommodation costs. So less people are now going to the UK. I think the figure for this year is about 320 students overall, and that includes students going from the Republic into Northern Ireland. So obviously we're going to need to create additional places so that lots of more young people who are looking to do nursing can actually get a place in nursing. But coming back to Catherine, yourself, and Sarah and Brona and Emma, What is the most satisfying or fulfilling aspect of the work now that you are involved in nursing? What is it that would motivate you to say to a young person, male or female, nursing is definitely a career for you?
Will I go first, girls?
Yeah, work away.
I suppose look at it's the opportunities are there. You can further your career. It needs all types. We need all types of people in nursing. We need people who are good with maybe IT. We need people who are good, maybe creative design. Like we're working towards. Nurses are involved in so many different levels now within health, that the options are endless. We can travel. It's a degree program. It's an absolute excellent degree program. You can do postgraduates, masters. I have a master's myself. Your career options are open to specialise. You can become a CNS. You can become a therapist, whatever it may be. You can work in the forensic services. So there's any amount of different areas to kind of specialise in, and you can travel the world. And it's job satisfaction, but most importantly, it's teams. It's getting to know people. You work with staff, you work with nurses, and I'm nearly 20 years in it now, since the time I started, and my best friends are my colleagues. You make friends for life. You're all supporting each other. You've got this shared understanding of what you're going through, especially in the last 18 months. To say that we could still be hopeful and positive and still be loving our jobs after what we've worked through is testament to the fact that nursing is a great career.
Yeah, it must have been. I just want to say that, we've all been talking about going out there and, clapping nurses and saying, isn't it wonderful? But it must have been incredibly difficult. And what motivated you to actually continue to go to work, even when colleagues were falling sick with COVID, etc. And yet, I've seen this myself with a family member. Effectively, nurses came up to the mark every single time. How difficult was that? Do you want to take that, Brona or Emma?
Yes, yeah, it was definitely difficult, and I'm actually still a student at the moment. I'm not qualified, and I wanted to do my utmost best to ensure that I was doing my bit and so on. So I actually work on call with the St. John of God's at the moment, and having that exposure, whoever thought we'd be in the middle of a pandemic and to see it last for so long, and still as a student nurse, to think that I got through that myself, I'm just so proud, and so are my classmates and so on, to realise that we were put under that pressure and so on, and how well trained, how well educated we are, and how well we're supported. Like, we work as part of teams, and as Catherine said, you make friends for life, whether it be your colleagues or your classmates and so on. And we just had to step up to the mark, and we definitely did. I think we all did ourselves proud. So yeah, COVID-19 has definitely, I think it's made us stronger, maybe, if anybody else agrees. But personally, yeah, I've achieved much more than I thought I would.
Emma or Sarah?
Yeah, I suppose for me, and we were working on the labour ward during the pandemic, we had pregnant women coming in labour. There was times when the partners weren't allowed, they had to come in on their own. So I suppose for me, what kept me going to work every day was knowing that I was definitely going to help somebody that day. I mean, I couldn't think of anything worse if it was me or my family member, sister, and whoever that was going to come in labour, probably first baby, second baby, whatever it was. For them to come in at such a vulnerable time in their life, probably one of the most vulnerable times in any woman's life, to come in labour on their own, or during a pandemic, trying to keep yourself safe. I mean, they had to go, like as Catherine said, 18 months. They had to mind themselves, like different pregnant women at different times. So for me, what kept me going was, knowing that you were making a difference in someone's life. I have met women on the street that I have looked after in labour that said they'll never forget you, and that, they were nearly your best friend walking out of the labour ward that day. So I suppose they'll never forget the help that they got. And there's people that I remember every day, coming in with different problems, and people were coming in, I suppose, with huge, weights on their shoulders. Family members were sick at the time, or, maybe family members were in hospital with COVID or isolating with COVID. We had husbands come in who maybe husbands had missed because the husband had tested positive, or the mother had tested positive, so it's awful. It was awful times, but I suppose we're maybe getting on a bit brighter side now. There's light at the end of the tunnel for some, but that was for me, knowing that I was going to make a difference in someone's life that day.
I have a question directly for you. Is midwifery an option if I drop biology? And And if I found biology difficult, basically would I struggle in college? And that's specifically relating to midwifery.
I don't want to give you the wrong answer in saying you don't need biology. The only science subject I had was biology. Now I know in some colleges it is the kind of acceptance into the course is one science subject. So I don't know if many of them are very specific. I don't know if any of the rest of the girls can vouch for it. I know at the time it was one science subject. For me it was biology. I didn't do any other subject. So I had an honours degree honours result in biology.
Okay.
And that did it for me.
Okay, so biology is very much the one that gives you a good indication. If you're enjoying biology and you're thinking of nursing, obviously that's for supporting. Work experience, in terms of if I'm in school and I'm thinking of nursing, is there any possibility within the system of students actually getting any kind of relevant work experience that might inform them as to whether nursing is the correct option for them? Catherine, Sarah, Brona, Emma, do any of you want to take that?
Well, I know that I did, when I started, I had gone originally just to do work experience in a nursing home. So I started off just doing a weekend here or there to when it eventually got me offered a job, and then I took it. So for me, it was just, I went to my local nursing home, asked for, a position, could I come in on a trial basis, and then I ended up working there for 4 years. I do know of people who have gone in and just asked, maybe through a contact, maybe, that they know somebody in there. I know with COVID it's been a little bit more strict, but in other times I do know of people who have gone to hospitals and maybe just asked the director, emailed the director, or even emailed the clinical placement coordinators for the students and asked if they could do a day or two here or there, because I'm sure the rest of the girls' areas are students every day going around. I think it's just an insurance issue with some things for it to be able to go into the areas. But definitely the likes of your community placements would be a little bit more easier. So going to your nursing homes, maybe your local health centres, I'm sure the people's GP offices would be more than happy to come in and have them assist for a day if they were to find out from their local community places.
Okay, so basically go to possibly local nursing homes, community care centres, etc., and express a willingness to help and support, etc. Okay, I'm also aware from an information point of view, I got some information in the last 24 hours. I think it's Hibernia College are launching a new nursing degree. I think it's associated with Connolly Hospital starting in the springtime. So we actually are getting the introduction of what is the online model that they've used for primary school teaching for a number of years. So we may actually have some additional places, which I think is really important for young people coming up through the system. In terms of subjects in school for students who may be selecting their subjects, I presume the advice that you would give them would be to study biology if in fact they're thinking of nursing. Would that be the same advice? Brona or Emma, do you want to take that?
Well, speaking from myself and my own personal experience, I never did biology, and here I am in fourth year of my nursing. So,
okay.
It's definitely something that you need to look at and see. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a complete requirement. I mean, in first year, I remember going into my anatomy and physiology class and thinking, oh my God, what is this? But the supports are there for you. The lecturers guide you, and there's added supports and so on. So, that's maybe something that you have to look at. But on a personal level, no, I actually I didn't study biology in school.
Okay.
I suppose advice I could give on that is I did in my Leaving Cert, I did probably a broad variety of subjects. So the advice I could give is maybe do one theory based, one kind of practical based, and maybe one different one. So I did business as my kind of theory, accounting I did as kind of a practical one, and then I did biology as my extra one, which was my science subject. So I suppose I didn't put all my eggs into one basket and leave myself with doing maybe 3 science subjects and no other subjects. So if down the line I didn't like midwifery or didn't like the nursing route, I had accounting that I thought that could be my next choice in my career. So maybe, like as Brona said there, like she didn't even do biology, now she's in 4th year nursing. So there's not, even if you wanted to go and be an accountant or do accounting, you don't necessarily need to have it, but maybe to keep your subjects broad. Don't, confine yourself to doing all science subjects or all math subjects. Maybe just keep it broad for the sake of your Leaving Cert, just to get by, so that you do have options down the line.
Okay. We're drawing towards the end of the conversation. All 4 of you are obviously loving and enjoying your careers in nursing. And in terms of applicants to the system or students who are in school, in terms of determining whether nursing is for you, what are the key aspects or challenges within nursing that would obviously, challenge anybody on the wards that you say, if you're this type of person or that type of person, what is it that really is the most satisfying aspect of a career in nursing? Maybe I can take it in sequence. Catherine, do you want to take that one just to wrap up?
I suppose skills that people might bring would be, we do need diverse people. We do a lot of problem solving. So nurses are problem solvers. We get asked everything, and we have to do everything from being a plumber to being a florist to being to looking after people. We do a bit of everything on a day-to-day basis. So like being a good problem solver, maybe being able to make decisions under pressure, being resilient, or even having that piece of like that you're able to reflect on yourself, and a little bit of being resilient and being able to move along and not be too hard on yourself.
Okay. Sarah?
I think one of my things was like you're going to be dealing with very vulnerable people. So if you're going into work and you're if you're a not negative person, but I think you need to be quite outgoing and quite enthusiastic sometimes, because if you're going into a place, into work, and you're dealing with they're very vulnerable, the people you're working with, and they might not have if it's an elderly person, they might not have their kids in, especially at the minute restrictions are still in hospitals and they don't have their family visiting as much. And people are very anxious and nervous. So if you're you have to be approachable. People have to be able to ask you questions also, and then to be that kind of friendly face that if someone's having a bad day, that you can try calm them down, try help them out in other ways other than the medical side of things. It's so important, the medical side of things, but I think the personal approach to nursing is so important, and being that person that someone can they see you and they can feel a little bit better. It makes you feel better too if you're able to help somebody in that way as well. So I think, as what Catherine said, is so important as well, but equally being personal and being approachable and enthusiastic and friendly are other traits that are really important.
Thank you. And Brona?
Yeah, I suppose the last few months, definitely, we've kind of been faced with a bit of doom and gloom. So, it's lovely just to walk in to work and just have a smile on your face, and to be, as Sarah said, approachable, and to be very understanding. I mean, in intellectual disability nursing, there are extremely vulnerable people, and, maybe anxious and not aware of what even, for example, COVID-19 is. And, a big role of the RNID is to be a mentor, to be an educator, to be very approachable, to be understanding. You could even call ourselves counsellors at time. You're sitting down, you're very much person-centred, and dealing with that person's emotions and directing them in the right way. So yeah, you have to your communication skills have to be good. And we have to remember as well, people in intellectual disability are, could be verbal and non-verbal. So you're using different ways to communicate to them. So, can be very pictorial and things like that. And you have to realize that there's different roles and aspects in it, and yes, there is the medical side, but there's other parts to it too.
I leave the final word to you, Emma. What is it ultimately? What are the things that you would look for within yourself to decide that nursing is for you?
So I suppose one thing the girls have mentioned, they've mentioned all the personal aspects, but I suppose it's, we shouldn't go without saying it is a high-paced environment. It's there's a lot of action in it, especially, say, for me in the labour ward. Yes, you need to be very passionate, very, kind and compassionate to the women that you're dealing with, but also you have to think on your feet. You are faced with emergency situations every day. Things are thrown at you. Things don't take the course of plan that you always want them to take. So thinking on your feet, a quick problem solver, a lot of common sense in nursing, I think, is huge. Being able to, work on your feet, but practically and effectively. You don't have a lot of time sometimes to be dilly-dallying and maybe trying to make your mind up as to what you're going to do next. It's very much quick fire thinking. And I suppose that's a huge part in every aspect of nursing. It's quick fire thinking and fast-paced environment.
Well, listen, Catherine, Sarah, Brona, Emma, you are an amazing combination of quality and personality. We are really, really, in Ireland, blessed with the quality of nursing personnel we have. And I would say to you that you can visit the NMBI stand on the Education, Training and Employment Information Hall. If you have any more questions on nursing, we're going to take a short break now before discussing the options for career through Gaeilge, through Irish. And again, thank all four of you for your absolutely amazing presentations and information about what motivated you and ultimately, at the end of the day, what has led you to enjoy the careers that you're enjoying in nursing. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you.